Thank you very much, and hello Brookline. It's good to be here. Thank you. Each one of us has a moment in our lives where we recognize the truth of something, and sometimes when we do that, we end up disagreeing with people who we otherwise might agree with, or even disagreeing with people with whom we love. And I understood that I had to challenge the White House, my own political party, and people in the media, regardless of what they thought about me. And so I'm running for president to take America in a new direction. Away from war, away from poverty, towards integrating a vision of a world as one, of a world which is interconnected and interdependent. It's about your future. It's about you having a right to expect that you'll grow up in a nation that is free of terrorism and also free of war. Yes.
Do you feel that today's political campaigns do enough to appeal to and inform younger voters?
Political campaigns are generally about the opposite of providing information. Far from information, they provide obfuscation. They try to obscure where people stand. They try to make worse the better reason, up, down, left, right. I think that an approach which is direct and from the heart, which is unequivocal, is something that would be a benefit to people.
Mr. Kucinich, in the last 10 years, do you feel the United States has been a good global citizen? And also, how would you change our relationship with the rest of the world in the coming 10 years?
I'm talking about changing the direction of America. Have we been a good global citizen? Well, let's say that we can do a lot better. And let's say that we can do better in the environment. As president, I'll sign the Kyoto Climate Change Treaty. You want to be a good global citizen? Help repair the globe. But keep in mind, this administration wants to privatize the post office, as they want to privatize Social Security and Medicare and the Defense Finance Administration, which handles the checks for the Navy and the Army. They want to privatize everything because they're really about the destruction of all that is Commonwealth. NAFTA and the WTO, the Free Trade Agreement of the Americans and the Central America Free Trade Agreements will continue to accelerate jobs out of this country. But the fact of the matter is, it's international corporations who have rigged the rules to hurt American workers and, frankly, to hurt workers in other countries because, for example, in Mexico, the wages went down after NAFTA passed. So I'm talking about changing our relationship with trade in the world. On one hand, affirming our relationship with Mexico and enabling workers from Mexico, the migrant workers, to have basic rights, but stopping this outsourcing of jobs, which is occurring because you can't put taxes or tariffs on it, and we'll stop that by getting out of the WTO.
Mr. Kucinich, what is your stance on the war on drugs, and do you believe in the legalization of marijuana?
Well, let's look at the metaphor. We just went from war to war. When you have a war, there's bodies all over the field. We're talking about a war on drugs. And again, I thank you for asking the question because you've just helped to prove a point about how the metaphor of our language itself has become infected with a reference to war. And so let me answer your question. Our approach towards dealing with drug abuse in this society is wrong. I think that we need to go towards medical treatment and rehabilitation instead of incarceration when people have drug problems. And we could start with decriminalizing marijuana. I remember when I was in high school, they used to have a film they showed, Reefer Madness, and I guess it's in its 8th printing. Go ahead.
Do you have a plan to increase the quality and quantity of incoming teachers into public schools? And is legislation like the No Child Left Behind Act effective in improving schools' conditions?
I'll answer the second part of that first. The answer is no, with respect to No Child Left Behind. Here's the vision I want to bring for education in America. First of all, starting from ages 3, 4, and 5, we, I believe, would benefit as a nation to have a universal pre-kindergarten program for children ages 3, 4, and 5 that would provide reading skills, social, educational skills, nutrition program. It would be a wonderful way to help those children who would otherwise not have an early start. to open it up to all young Americans. And this would be instrumental in helping to close some of the achievement gaps, which was the basis of the creation, at least theoretically, of the No Child Left Behind program. How would you fund a universal pre-kindergarten program? Right now, our country is spending over $400 billion for the Pentagon. Let me tell you where some of the money goes. Building new nuclear weapons, putting a weapons platform in space, creating a Star Wars missile shield, which, by the way, can't pass its tests. Yeah, the government wants to penalize school districts where children don't pass their tests, but it's giving $10 billion in this budget for a missile system which hasn't passed its test, okay? So here's where I'm going with this. Here's where I'm going. As president, I will order a 15% reduction in that bloated Pentagon budget and put the money right into a universal pre-kindergarten program. That's where that money comes from.
In a country divided on gay marriage, what would you do to advocate gay civil rights in the face of such strong resistance?
Well, first of all, I believe that the promise of the Constitution and the promise of the Bill of Rights should not be denied to anyone, regardless of race, color, creed, or sexual orientation. Since when is it okay to start excluding people from the protections of law because they happen to be gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender? Since when is that okay? And since when is that okay in America? I mean, they have a president of the United States actually advocating that we change the Constitution of the United States to deny equal opportunity and before the law for people who just happen to be gay and lesbian and bisexual and transgender. To have the president actually stand for that, to me, is a confession by this government of not only its heartlessness, but of its lack of commitment to democratic values and democratic principles. So let me tell you something. The United States had no legitimate reason to be in Iraq, period. I mean, I know there are people who think that Iraq had something to do with 9/11, and I know there are people who believe that the United States has an obligation to stay there, but we only have an obligation to stay there until UN peacekeepers are brought in under a whole new approach. Otherwise, why are we there? Why are we really in Iraq? Thank you. So, I mean, let's face it. We're there because of oil and contracts and privatization. This idea that somehow this is for freedom and justice, save it. There are people over there dying. Let me tell you why I'm so passionate about this. Think about this. We've lost about 550 men and women who love this country and serve this country. They're enlisted men and women. They were enlisted men and women. They're also members of National Guard units. They're also Army reservists. Over 10,000 Iraqis. 10,000. Most of them innocent civilian non-combatants have perished in this conflict. Let me tell you, they look just like me and you, okay? And they died because of lies. Over $200 billion spent in this country while they're cutting funds for education and health care and housing and veterans benefits. We have to stand for something else as a nation other than death and destruction. That's why I'm challenging this administration. We're aiming to bring the challenge right into Massachusetts next Tuesday to give people a real choice and a different approach to not just the presidency, but a different approach to America's affairs both at home and in the world. Thank you very much.